This is what Abraham is believed to look like. Clearly you can see, because he lived over there with his ancient Sumerian brothers, the Natufians and Edomites, you can clearly see he was an African. And clearly, let me say also that there's no one prototype that defines an African facial characteristic either, by the way. We got wide nose, thin lips, wide lips. There's no one facial characteristic or no one prototype that defines an African facial characteristic. In fact, Abraham looks just like some of our Ethiopian brothers who are there today, who call themselves Beta Israel, or the chosen people, we'll deal with in a few minutes. But once we get the story, this is how we get it. And the Lord appeared unto Abram. If you look at the Lord and you look at Abram, they look like brothers. In fact, they can pass for twins. That's how we got the story. Supposedly, the Lord tells Abram to take his wife Sarah into the land of Kemet, into the land of Egypt. So he comes into the land of Egypt, and from this 12th century painting here, they clearly show the inhabitants of Egypt as being black. Why is it that from the biblical point of view, they always want to make the people black, but the historical account, they want to make the people white? Because the biblical account, they want to keep with that racist allegorical myth of the Ham story that we'll deal with later. But the historical account, they don't want it to be known that African people laid the foundation of civilization. Right. But let's deal with this to see what customs Abraham took up out of the African Nile Valley. Because we are told that circumcision came by way of Abraham. He was the first one supposedly circumcised Isaac. If you're a Hebrew, and Ishmael if you're a Muslim. In Genesis chapter 17, verse 10 and 11, it says, Jehovah says, "This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you, and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you." So here we see that supposedly from this account, this is how circumcision started. But we can go back to the 6th dynasty of Ankh-Mahor and to the rites of initiation into manhood, showing the pulling back of the foreskin, showing circumcision was known long before Abraham came into the African Nile Valley. So hundreds of years before Abraham knew this custom of circumcision, it was already going on in the African Nile Valley. This is where Abraham got the concept of circumcision from. Let's continue, brothers and sisters, because even when you go into the tombs and temples of Egypt, you see the god Mem. The god Mem clearly showing our ancestors this is what you're supposed to be, because his penis is circumcised. Clearly you can see the huge erect penis flipped up on the end, clearly showing it's circumcised. But let me also say that the penis is coming out from the navel. Why from the navel? Showing the connection with the goddess concept, where the umbilical cord was severed from our mothers. But yet, even the old Greek freaks, they didn't even have a penis, and it wasn't even circumcised. So they didn't know nothing about circumcision. But when you go back to Mem, you can clearly see that there was a nice-sized penis, circumcised, but the Greek freaks didn't have no penis and wasn't even circumcised. So the Greeks didn't know anything about this. Time, December 18, 1995, says this about Abraham. Was Abraham a myth? He was the father of Judaism, the man who was willing to kill his son Isaac just because God told him to. Okay. But years of searching have convinced all but most conservative experts that Abraham and the rest of the patriarchs were inventions of the Bible's authors.